Nigerian political culture. Nigeria has a few things that really define its political identity. Like Mexico, it does have a strong patron clientelism uh, tradition, and in fact, it has the strongest patron clientelism of the situation going on of all of the countries that we study in AP Comparative. Um, It's actually has its own name that the Nigerian people give it, and it's called prebendalism. Prebendalism is basically the idea that if you win an office, winning an office comes with huge benefits for your tribe. It's closely tied to identity politics. So if you win an election, your tribe will get money that will be given to its locality. So, winning political power in Nigeria comes with massive economic benefits to your particular ethnic group or tribe. And that's just embedded in Nigerian politics. Of course, we've talked extensively about ethnic and religious differences in Nigeria because it is a perfect example of coinciding cleavages. And another thing, unfortunately, is that Nigeria really has had unsuccessful attempts of creating civil society and an idea of pluralism where people like the state can't even force people like in a co-optation or corporatism manner. The state can't even force people to join groups. People just don't participate in the government. They don't join interest groups, and probably because of there being a lack of education and high rates of poverty. All right. Citizens, society, and the state. Okay. And the problem, especially with that last aspect of the political culture of Nigeria, the inability to create a civil society, that's really necessary for democratization. If Nigeria wants to keep their fourth republic and keep like this wave of democratic, um, peaceful transfers of power in their elections, the citizens will have to pay attention. They will need the time to pay attention to politics, which means they will need to not have to worry about gathering food, growing food. They can't worry about how to cook that food. They can't worry about where to get water. Those things, you know, if it comes between a decision that you have to figure out how to feed your family or participate in politics, you're obviously going to feed your family first. So that's key for Nigeria to really sustain this democracy is to make sure that people have the time to pay attention and can participate. Nigeria has some real problems that are going to undermine the democratization and keep it successful. 60% of Nigerians live in poverty. There is a huge gap between the rich and the poor. So the Gini coefficient being right around 50.6. There are health issues. So AIDS is really not something that the government has tried to make better. Actually, AIDS is something like the AIDS epidemic is something that non governmental organizations have had to go in and help Nigerians tackle. Literacy, again, it's a very low literacy rate overall. Less than 70% of Nigerians can actually read, so there's low levels of education, and that's even lower for women. So, divisions. Okay, we study Nigeria as being the one, like the most fragmented, diverse, um, not homogeneous whatsoever society or country in the AP6. Um, there and all of the people who presented on Nigeria pulled up this number of 250. 250 distinct ethnic groups and religious groups are within the border of Nigeria. And you could fit Nigeria um, in one third of, or probably more like two-thirds of the east coast of the United States. So imagine putting 250 to 400 different types of people into 5 states in the United States. There's going to be some ethnic conflict. The three major ethnic groups, which happen to also coincide with region and religion. We have gone over these in class. I've shown you this map, but you have the Hausa Fulani, and they would be up here in the north. The Yoruba, which are going to be right here in the southwest, and the Igbo, or the Igbo. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, so if you're Nigerian and you're listening to this, I apologize in advance. Please feel free to make a comment of how I could better pronunciate these ethnic groups. Okay, but the Igbo are going to be right here in the Biafran region of Nigeria. Okay, the Hausa Fulani are in the north, and they're also Muslim. The Yoruba and the Igbo are going to be in the southern part of Nigeria, and they are going to be mostly Christian. And again, the Igbo in the Biafra region is going to be where most of your oil is. So there is your conflict right there. It's a hotbed of disagreement of who should control which resources. Here's just another ethnicity map. You can see it a little bit clearer. Okay, religion. So 50% Muslim, 40% Christian, and 10% various native religions. Okay, again, can't say it enough. The reason why the South is Christian is because the British spent most of their time during the colonial era in the South and convinced people to become Christian in exchange for education for their children. The North remained Islamic based off of trade interaction from before British colonial era. So the British were unable to convert the northern Nigerians to Christianity at a high rate. When the British left, they left the Christians in control of the South, where all of the oil happens to be, and the North kind of maintained this Nigerian identity and wanted to rule the areas in the north of Nigeria under Sharia or Islamic law. Okay, so that's also going to lead to a division between North and South. Okay, so the North is predominantly Muslim, less levels of education, poorer, less industrialized, and they have less access to healthcare and infrastructure like roads and schools. The South, mainly Christian, more educated, and having oil reserves. And remember, Nigeria is a rentier state. So having the oil reserves, really the southern regions profit more from oil extraction. All right, other cleavages. You have the urban-rural difference. Political organizations, interest groups, and media really only operate in the cities. The educated elite are going to be the ones who vote. They're going to be the ones that are tied to the government. And again, that identity politics, that prebendalism, it doesn't help any of your ethnic differences when the wealthy elites happen to be the ones that are controlling the government, and they're going to benefit the people in the South. So you're further dividing and isolating the people in the North, not only by religion, but by class, by education, and by access to resources. And that's why there's so much division within Nigerian political culture, and so many of those coinciding cleavages that really make Nigeria walk on eggshells to prevent violence, a coup, or ethnic conflict. But really, it's doing great. I mean, it's doing. I don't want any. It's doing a lot better than it has. The Fourth Republic You have seen peaceful transfers of power. And the reason we study Nigeria is because it is very populous, and it is it is wealthy with the oil, and it's kind of, it gives you hope that people can get over these divides, and maybe they could be an example of how to overcome ethnic conflict in a democracy in Africa.